Okay, so back on. Don't know if anybody watches this stuff or not, but it's just an experiment anyway. We're at the actually south of Upper Sandusky, starting this Upper Sandusky, Ohio, USA. That is. Camera's hands-free. I just manually adjusted it there for a moment. Don't text while driving. They had this thing at Love's called a fused chicken. I found out after buying it that it's for Type-C, but I'm going to keep it anyway because my next phone's probably going to be a Type-C charger anyway. I'm noticing the micro USBs are getting harder and harder to find. This cuts across to 67, which is my way home from here. And yes, I'm aware there's a big suction ring right there. Love's did not have the glass cleaner I was looking for, and I buy a very specific one that actually takes that shit off. I think I'm going to have to go to a TA for it, but the nearest one from here is about an hour and a half away, and I suppose I could go to Beaver Dam, but I wasn't planning on going there today. Alright, I gotta stop. I don't know what's going on here. Don't know why it's doing that. I gotta make this kind of quick. If that happens again, I'm just going to, if I'm not somewhere where it's safe to stop, these water country roads are usually fine for doing that, as long as you're cautious and make it quick and there's nobody coming like that guy behind me that you can't see. But he was about half a mile back. I had time to take care of it. Anyway, it's also an interesting reflection of my air vent there. And you could probably see part of my Lyft amp, which I don't really do a whole lot with Lyft and Uber anymore because I found things that pay better for the time being. I mostly do Amazon Flex now. And yes, I know, I've heard some horror stories, but at least in Columbus, they're pretty decent. I suppose it might vary from location to location. You can't really see how steep that railroad grade crossing is unless you have real life. Anyway, from that to Love's, I think there's a Love's in Springfield now. I'm not going back to that Love's for a while. The person who rang me up starts to lick her fingers to reach for a bag. I was like, that's fucking disgusting. I didn't say that, but I did kind of point out a little diplomatically, hey, do yourself a favor, don't lick your fingers before handling people's bags, because, yeah, you're probably clean, but people perceive that as gross. And I didn't even say fucking gross. This is probably going to replace the uncensored series, just like these live driving videos where I kind of talk about whatever, and any topic's fair game. You want an interesting one, put it in the comments. I might even discuss it, because sometimes I like to research things and discuss them. I'm pretty good at memorizing, so I won't be reading from a script while driving, obviously, because I am not a fan of distracted driving. I can't honestly say I've never been guilty of it, but I actually had a couple of close calls myself before smartphones, and then where I live, one of the news stations has the sports reporter's daughter was killed as a result of driving. Now, out of it, he and his family have actually gone out to encourage people to take pledge not to drive distracted. And I hope this isn't a big middle finger slap in the face to him. Even looking at the camera, being in heavy fog. I mean the kind that's so thick that you can't see your hand in front of your face. Sometimes I've found that the cameras on phones always pick up fog. Now, I've never driven in thick pea soup fog. And maybe it has picked it up and I haven't noticed, so I've always wondered why that is. Some of these, my camera phones don't tend to pick up natural fog. At least when it's light. I got to do this from somebody that does commentaries on things while they they set it up to footage from video games and then maybe throw a few still shots in. But it seems why not just incorporate commentary into driving videos like I used to shoot, especially when I was a truck driver. Just passed by with a garage and a storage shed. The dream. I don't know that I would have a trailer here, though. I would probably want some kind of an underground bunker. Something that can withstand an F5 tornado. Because Wyandotte County gets... they get their share of tornadoes. Ohio does get... we're not quite in Tornado Alley, but we actually had a tornado come through last night. About 2 hours from where I live. They do happen here. They can happen anywhere. We don't get, as general rule, we don't get the kind like they get in Kansas or any of the Tornado Alley states. but we do usually get a tornado somewhere in March or April. Sorry, gotta run those once in a while. It's that annoying drizzle that's enough to fuck with your visibility, but not really enough that you need wipers all the time. And the slowest setting on my car is faster than I need at the moment. So I just turn them on, like flip them about maybe every couple of minutes. Yesterday was kind of bad. I was actually delivering before the tornado, and it didn't hit where I was delivering Amazon Flex packages. So, kind of got lucky. I finished both of my blocks on time, which is, it's pretty rare for me not to finish a block on time. And all you got to do if you run over is send an email. They will send your excess block adjustment eventually. I've found sometimes it takes, the most I've ever waited is 14 days. Not bad at all. Because they probably do have to investigate to make sure that you legitimately went over because of something on their end and not, you know, if I stop somewhere and sit for an hour, which I'm not going to do in the middle of a block, you know, that would be on me. Usually when I run over, it's like anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. It's maybe, oh hey, we just lost connection there. That does happen around here sometimes. When you see skips in the video, you'll probably see a skip in the video when that happens. And we're coming into, technically should be Marseille, but I think the locals pronounce it Marseilles. Could stop and ask that guy, but he'd probably give me a funny look. It's like a one-horse town. About the only thing, they don't even have a post office, I don't think. I've been told this bar and grill, the angle back, I've been told it's really good, but I've never actually been in there. And I actually just had the famous bologna sandwich at the G&R in Waldo earlier today, so I'm not hungry. And yes, despite trying to lose weight, I do still eat the things that I enjoy and things that sound good. Because you have infinite times, but you only remember living once at a time, so well, these people throw YOLO out there. No, it's YOLIT. You're lit, but YOLO. You only remember living once at a time. You're lot. Why am I going into Kenton? Or people from out of town will enunciate the T and call it Kenton. Nobody from there does this that I know of. We kind of like, well, I'm not from there, but I grew up kind of close to there. Pretty much right on the Logan-Hardin County line. South of Roundhead, west of Bell Center. Actually at Indian Lake. In what used to be the poor side, but where the house I grew up used to stand, there's this 3-story blue behemoth. I actually went back a couple of years ago, just to kind of cruise Long Island out of sheer curiosity. I have no desire to ever live there again. The weekenders that used to come in were sometimes real assholes, for lack of a nicer word, to the people who lived there. And if you're a kid living there, you know, there were like maybe 5 kids my own age when I was growing up there, and we didn't really have friends that among any of them. I grew up being homeschooled and pretty much isolated. I didn't really have a whole lot of social interaction until I was about 19 and started working, and really didn't interact with a lot of those people outside work. To be honest, we used it was a grocery store. There was this one office clerk, used to love to yell at people in front of customers and co-workers and be real rude. And one time she tried to pull this with me, and I called her out, and her response was, "I don't want to hear it." I sicked the store manager on her and won that. Then about 5 years later, I was in a mall and she came up to me and was like, "Oh, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Fuck off, bitch. Get the fuck away from me." And yes, I will call a woman a bitch if it's appropriate. Most of the people I've ever called a bitch are male. And I would say that 100% of the people I've ever called a cunt to their face are male. Oh, I believe that's the house. No, that's not it. Coming up. Old family friend used to live here. I don't know if he's still alive. He went to school with my dad, which would put him close to 80 now. But it looks like they tore the house down and they're putting something else up, because that big mud pile there is where the house stood. It was kind of like the house, but things change. Things do change. So yeah, to the any viewers that are watching now, this is just kind of a little experiment at the moment. I need to feel like I'm doing something related to my field of academic study. And right now, this is about the closest I can get to that. Because I make good money doing my, I suppose what you could call my paycheck job. I'm self-employed. I mainly deliver packages through Amazon Flex, not clear out here. I took today off. But I do that because I can set my hours. I make about as much money working 30 hours a week as I used to working 40 to 60. And now I work like 30 to 35 hours a week. I'm probably out at least 40 hours a week because from where I live to the nearest place to do Amazon Flex is an hour away. It's worth it. I went from a 4-minute commute to a 56-minute commute. It's worth it. And I always liked driving anyway. I used to be a truck driver. I actually loved most of the things about truck driving, except for the having to beg for home time and never really being in control of your own life. And where I worked, there were actually dispatchers who took bets as to how short they could cut your home time, how short they could cut a driver's home time. Quit. I looked in on this once. And once again, full disclaimer, no, this is totally hands-free, eyes on the road. The rain's getting a little... It's that annoying rain that, just enough to be annoying, but not enough to have the wipers on full, which is kind of a good thing because, and you probably can't even really see it on the windshield. Again, sorry about that ring over there on the right. Not a whole lot I can do about it until I find this really good cleaner I've been looking for. Clean the inside of the windshield, which I probably should do more often than I do. So I'm debating whether to head on toward Lima or start for home. Because it is 6 p.m. and I actually have an early call tomorrow for Amazon Flex. By early call, I mean noon. I usually work between the hours. Mostly I work between about 1 p.m. and about 9 p.m. But sometimes I can get runs as early. I've gotten them as early as 11:30. I don't really take the 11:30 runs a whole lot anymore because, yeah, you can sometimes get 3 runs doing that. But to be honest, 2 is plenty for me. And sometimes if I do the early run, then I'm usually too tired to do a later one. Now, the earlier ones you can get, it's a lot easier to get 4-hour blocks, which currently pay at least $72. But sometimes if I take a $63 block, a 3.5 hour, that doesn't start until 1 or 1:30 or 2, I've had it happen where I've had one that runs 2 to 5 or 2 to 5:30, get done early, and I'm close enough to the distribution center, I could take one that starts at 5:15 sometimes. And the really nice thing about the 5:15s, they're usually same days, so they don't overload you. And what's the other nice thing about the same days, you almost never have returns on them. Not that returns are that big of a deal, but if I get a run that's taking me toward home, obviously I don't want to have a return that goes back the other way. And I've been told you have 24 hours to take back returns that aren't same days. To be honest, I've never really had returns on the ones that were homeward bound anyway, like on the last run. On the first run, I don't care if I have returns. I'd rather not have a whole lot, because they do hurt your I've been told they hurt your metrics a little bit, but they'll hurt them a lot less than hypothetically somebody maybe delivers to the wrong place by accident because they'd rather mark it delivered than have a return. Don't be that guy. Please don't be that guy. If you can't find the place to deliver the package, you're better off to take it back. But yeah, yesterday my 5:15 was a 3-hour block with 8 packages. Now they were pretty spread out, and I did wind up running the whole 3 hours because, to be honest, since I knew I had plenty of time, I opted to take a route which would finish me closer to home. Now, if I run a few minutes over on a block doing that, I don't ask for excess adjustment. I might send them an email saying this is why I ran over. However, I am not asking for excess adjustment because I chose to do a different route, so I'd be closer to home when I finished, or something like that. I thought that was a former coworker that actually got fired for a very stupid reason, but I can't disclose at this time, and it wasn't her anyway. But we're going. Ooh, Girl Scout cookies. Tempting, but I'm trying to lose weight. I'll just make I'll make a donation later to that troop. or another one. And I am going to pass on going on to Lima because as good as a Kewpie hamburger sounds, to be honest, the ones from York Steakhouse are better. Yes, there's still a York Steakhouse in existence in Columbus, Ohio, on West Broad Street near 270 on the west side. Actually across the street from the former Westland Mall, which is actually still standing, but it's closed to the public now. I can remember when that place was pretty fucking awesome. If I had the money, I would buy that mall and convert it into film studio space. Because that would really be a good use for abandoned malls. I bet I could get my hands on an abandoned mall for about $20 million. But I doubt I'd find enough people on Kickstarter to give me that much money. Oh, there's an Anytime Fitness here now. I'm a member. It's the old family video. It's not open yet. Looks like they're getting ready to open it. But that's good to know, because this is really convenient from here, from home. "33 minutes to get here from Upper Sandusky? I'm slipping." Getting a little slow as I hit middle age. Or maybe slightly less than middle age, because who knows? With life expectancies increasing, might be able to expect to live longer. Maybe it's only like quarter age now. $39, if anybody's wondering. Of course, I gotta lose some poundage if I want to see such benefits that they're talking about. They're one of those Kingdom Halls of Jehovah's Witnesses with a no through traffic sign. You know, I find it interesting. They have these big ass no trespassing signs, and yet they totally ignore no trespassing. And yes, I am anti-Jehovah's Witness. Very anti-Jehovah's Witness. If you read some of the things about them and do your research, it's likely, if you have half a brain, that you'll at least be skeptical of them. I'm not, I don't hate them. I will try to wake as many of them up as I can, and I have had some luck turning Jehovah's Witnesses into ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. I've never been one. But if there was ever a brainwashed cult, they're probably about as close to being mainstream for one as it gets. Of course, I say this as a guy who founded my own religious belief system, which is totally legal, by the way. If you don't like the stuff that's out there, you can write your own. You are in charge of your own destiny. And believing in reincarnation isn't necessarily compatible with Christianity. Well, I think it could be. Depending on how you define afterlife, heaven and hell. Yeah, I see no reason a person couldn't accept Christian teachings and still believe in reincarnation. When you consider some of the fucked up ways people interpret things from the Judeo-Christian Bible to begin with, you can do whatever you want. Not a huge fan of the Amish either, to be honest. Even though I did go to Layman's last week in Wayne County, town, I don't know if it's Dalton or Kidron. The address is very confusing. Because on the GPS, the address will say Dalton, but you seem to go into this town called Kidron, or Kidron, or however it's pronounced. It's kind of a cool store, and I was interested in somewhere that supplies the Amish because I'm kind of looking into setting up a little homestead eventually probably in New Mexico. I got land there that's completely off the grid. I don't know, I might have some computers. That bad boy's gonna have solar panels, windmills, and I realize it's the desert, possibly even a hydro generator, because get this, you can get these devices that will generate water from the air. I think they'll make about a gallon in an hour or something. I haven't really researched these as well as I'd like to yet. Anyway, I don't really have a whole lot more to talk about, so probably stick to this footage of whatever this, it kind of looks like a little bit of a storm front here. And I'm not going to stream all the way to my residence. Probably. I'd probably stop somewhere in Ridgeway coming up here and stop it there. Some interesting people in that town. Not interesting as in necessarily good or bad, just interesting as in interesting. Still need these. Not sure why I still had them running. Other way. And actually, I may swing over to Mount Victory real quick and hit Dollar General for some things. Dollar General there is really nice. It's not as big as you go down like into Tennessee, where they're based out of. You'll see they have like full size. I think they call them marketplace stores or something. No, that's Kroger. Dollar General calls theirs something similar, and it might actually also be marketplace. Can't really think of anything I need from there, though, so I'll get back into my county. This town's actually right on the county line, so see, entering Logan County, leaving Hardin. I don't know if this town used to have 2 gas stations or if it had one that moved. They used to have signs up that said every home has a fire alarm. Either smoke alarm or fire alarm. Which really every home should. Good idea. I'll keep it running until I get to West Mansfield. Or East Liberty. I might go down to East Liberty and grab Well, I don't know if I want to grab a pizza or maybe get some stuff to make one another night. Because I make my own pizzas too, and they're good. I don't necessarily make my own crust. Although I'm not far enough out of Mount Victory, I mean, I could still head up to that Dollar General and grab a... I think they even sell pre-made pizza crusts, or, well, no, they sell pre-made pizzas. But you can get the stuff to make pizza crusts. Like the Jiffy Mix equivalent there. Making pizza crust is a pain in the ass, though. I either usually buy the refrigerated kind or the pre-made ones like you see in Kroger. And yes, I'm probably the one person from the Great Lakes states that does not actually add an apostrophe S to every fucking store name. People, it's Kroger, Meijer, Walmart. Not Kroger's, not Meijers, not Walmart's. If there's not an apostrophe S in the actual name, don't fucking add one. I could do a whole accent tag video. Except I'd want to add a few things, like... I don't know, when people put a sh sound in groceries, it hurts my ears. It's not groceries, it's groceries. It's a C, not an SH. Let's see, what are some other annoying things people do, people from Ohio tend to don't, that annoy the fuck out of me? Oh yeah, put an R in wash. It's not wash, it's wash. Could probably do a whole stream on this, like... And yes, I'm kind of a nitpicky person. Very nitpicky person. These power lines I'm about to go under, actually, if you follow those long enough, they'll kind of go out to what looks like a dead end. Like the wires from the last tower run out down to the ground, and I don't know if they go underground or if maybe, but it's like, why have them there unless there's some sort of a... I've always wondered why they just kind of, instead of connecting to something else. Maybe that serves a purpose. Those are... run an excess load out, prevent problems or something. if that's a real thing. I can figure out how to generate spark. And I'm slowly learning how to be able to do that on a larger scale, because I might want to eventually power coin miners using free power, because with free power you don't really have to worry about how much money they make you per day. You'll eventually get your investment back, maybe. Because connecting Bitcoin miners to the grid is very expensive. Where I live, it's 13 cents a kilowatt hour, which I mean, if you want to mine Bitcoins, you need to be somewhere where if you want to mine them yourself, you really need to be somewhere where where the power's a lot cheaper than that, or where you can get free power. It's actually kind of what got me into off-grid light panels, into researching it a little more, mainly because I want to learn how to generate my own power, because once I can generate my own power, on enough of a scale, whatever the price of Bitcoins is, I'll be able to generate income. People think it's a fad, and it may be, but I don't think it is. Cryptocurrency has some advantages that fiat doesn't. As in fiat currency, like the US dollar, the British pound, the euro, not the cars. I wonder if anybody still lives in that trailer. Doesn't look like it. Looks like they still farm the land around it, though. Sometimes I wonder what happens with these abandoned properties. I wonder why they have a no trespassing sign on their mailbox. That seems weird. I think it'd be better in your yard. It's interesting. This Give and Take thrift store in West Mansfield never seems to be open. I'm going to pull over a minute, though, and I'm going to stop the camera. So, have a good day. We'll try this again later.